everyone. Welcome to Web Maps 2 Ways with Streamlit and PyScript. My name is Christy Heaton. I'm a software engineer currently working in the automated driving industry. And I'm also the current president of CUGOS, which is the group that brought us all here today. I have also been involved in organizing PyLadies Seattle and MapTime Seattle. So I'm a big fan of open source and community. I also really like hiking, so that's a picture of me hiking, and I mention it because it often finds its way into my personal projects, which I'll present today. You can find me on Mastodon and LinkedIn, and these links are at the bottom of every slide. This QR code, if you're interested and have your phone handy right away, has all the content for this presentation. I'll also show it again at the very end, so no worries, wait for that if you're not ready. So I'm going to be talking about web maps, how you can make web maps. I really like web maps. They're interactive, right? They're beautiful. You can share them with a URL, or really easy to share. They're interactive. They often have buttons and sliders and tooltips, and you can zoom in and out. So really great way to share spatial information. This keeps syncing. So I'm going to show you two ways to create and deploy web maps. They're both using Python, but not a lot of Python. So there are two ways you can make web maps with not a lot of code. And they also allow you to deploy them without having to maintain your own server setup. So in this talk, I'm going to introduce my two ways to make web maps, Streamlit and PyScript. Then I'm going to make a web map with just Python, and then we'll use that web map in a Streamlit dashboard, and then we'll use that map in a PyScript dashboard, and then we'll discuss the differences. So let's talk about what these are. Let's start with Streamlit. So Streamlit is a Python library for building quick and easy web apps. So you call the Streamlit methods, and you can build a web app with very little code, and I'll show you how. So with Streamlit, you'll also already need a local Python installation, and then you can install Streamlit with the pip, typical way to install Python packages. So pip install Streamlit. From there, you can create a Python file that has some Streamlit code in it. Thank you. It's running away from me. So you create a file called simple app if you want, whatever you want to name it. And inside you'll import some NumPy and pandas or libraries that help you with manage data, and then you'll import Streamlit. And then you can start using Streamlit methods right away to start building your app. So add a title, write some text to the page, create a pandas data frame with some random data in it, put that on. STWrite puts that on the page, and then STScatterChart would just put a scatter chart on the page. So once you have this file, how you want it, you can, in your terminal, run Streamlit run and then the name of your file. And it will start running in your browser at localhost, so it's running locally. But you've just created a web app with about 5 lines of Python code. So you can see your title is showing up, your text, the data frame, and the scatter chart with just a tiny bit of Python code. So that's Streamlit. Now let's talk about PyScript. So PyScript is an open source platform for running Python in the browser. So you may have heard of the JavaScript programming languages. This is a language that makes web pages do things, and that language runs directly in the browser. Well, PyScript allows Python to also run in the browser, which historically it never did that. You always had to run it locally. So PyScript is a pretty new tool just in the past few years, but I've really enjoyed using it because if you can run Python in the browser, then you don't need to deal with the hassle of a local Python installation, which I'm sure a few of you have felt before, myself included. So to create a web app using PyScript, one way you can do that is to go to pyscript.com and create an account. From there, you can click Create a New Project. And when you do that, well, I'll show you a simple app that I've already made. So if you open up your simple app, you have, this is all in the browser, by the way. You have a little tiny file system. It has main.py where you'll put your Python code, your PyScript code. And I've got some, PyScript has a method called display, which will put something on the page, print statements. Your text will appear in this like black terminal interface, and you can add buttons, you can add like all kinds of webby features. Index.html, you can customize how your page look and feel. If you can use ChatGPT to help you like fix up your HTML if you want. Adding a button here. And then PyScript.toml here is your config file where you can add name of your app. You would also put any Python dependencies you have and other configurations. So here's what that PyScript app looks like. So here again is the code. So this display kind of puts this text at the top of the page. Print statements appear here. And I added a little button that when you click it, it prints out hello CUGOS. And in this example, oh, here's the button right here. I clicked it 3 times, just trust me, and it printed hello CUGOS. So that's Streamlit and PyScript. So both of these are ways that you can build web apps with Python. So Streamlit, you need a local Python installation, but it's really quick to make nice dashboards. PyScript runs Python in the browser, so you don't need a local Python setup. But neither of these deals directly with mapping. So in order to use them to make maps, we need to use a library that does deal with mapping, and it's covered up, but it's GeoPandas. GeoPandas is my favorite library for making web maps. So we'll use a combination of these things to make our web maps. So for the theme of our map, it's going to be hiking. So hiking in the state of Washington is a wonderful pastime. There's so many volcanoes, rivers, mountain ranges, so highly recommend it. That's going to be the theme of our map. So we're going to make a web map of the hiking trails in Washington. So on this map, we'll have a dot for every trailhead. The dots will be colored by the hiking distance. And apparently in my data set, there are distances up to over 1,000 miles, maybe like, I don't know. And then when you hover over them, you'll get the title, mileage, elevation, gain, and the region they're located in. So how do you make a web map with Python? One thing you need is data with location. So that's the part we're probably mostly familiar with here. I have a data set that has a geometry column when I load it in with points in it, lat long, representing the location of each of my trailheads. The data I'm using comes from the Washington Trails Association website, and if you are actually looking to go hiking in the state of Washington, please use this resource over any that I make in my demo today. It's a great resource, but I'm pulling the data from here. So another thing you need to make a web map with Python is a Python library that deals with geospatial data and maps. And as I say, I like GeoPandas. It's kind of my go-to. It's really easy to make an interactive map with very little code, which is what I like to do. So let's make our little web map. This is a Jupyter notebook. We're just focusing on the web map, not Streamlit or PyScript right now. So to make it, we'll import GeoPandas, and then we'll read in our hiking data as a geodata frame. And then we'll look at the first few rows just as a quality check. So we've got our nice title, mileage, gain, region, and geometry. So those are the key columns we're interested in. So GeoPandas has a method called explore. And if you use this on a geodata frame, you'll instantly get a web map. So like literally one word dot one other word, and you've got a web map. So here's the code you need to make a web map. Like, that's it. It's my geodata frame.explore, and now all of my dots are on this interactive web map. They're just blue, and they're small, and if I were to hover over them, I would get the entirety of the attribute table in the tooltip, which is not exactly what I want. But you can customize the explore method. You can change the base map. You can change the size of the dots. You can change the column that the dots are colored by. You can customize the tooltip so it only shows you the 4 columns we're interested in, and there's other configurations you can make as well. So this little bit of code is what we're going to end up using in our Streamlit and our PyScript dashboards to ultimately make the map. So let's make a dashboard that uses this map using Streamlit. This is what the dashboard's going to look like. We have some filters on the left, and the user can specify the distance they want, so it's customizable. They can also select the region in this drop-down menu. And then the map will be over here. We have a title, legend. Okay, let's look at how we can make this. So we'll need to create a new Python file, name it whatever you want, import our GeoPandas and Streamlit. We'll load in the data, clean it up a bit. I have all this code online, so I won't go over every detail. You can always look at it yourself, adding a title. And then the code for the filters looks like this. Again, I'm just using Streamlit methods to say like, hey, I want some filters in a sidebar, and I want them to be the distance and elevation, and I want my region dropdown to have all the region options in it. And then we need to have some code in here that actually filters our geodata frame by the values that the user has specified in the filters. And Streamlit has a map method, actually. So you can do st.map and put your data in there, but it doesn't do much. It'll put all your dots in red on a page, but you can't customize it further. So that's some kind of helpful. But I can actually use my GeoPandas Explore method with all of my customizations right in my Streamlit code, and then use a library called Streamlit Folium to get it on the map. So that's what that ends up looking like. Okay, so here is the end result. This dashboard is deployed at that URL. I have this nice filters panel. Like, I showed you all the code. There wasn't that much. You can filter the distance, say like, I'm interested in a 10 to 14 mile hike this weekend with about an average elevation gain. You can see the map is updating right away. Region, sure, Mount Rainier. Okay, so that's the dashboard, interactive components. If you hover over, you see just the nice little tooltip, and that makes it a nice thing you can create and share. So in order to deploy Streamlit, you will need a few things. You obviously develop it locally with your local Python installation, and then you can deploy it using Streamlit Community Cloud for free. There's also other paid options. You will need to have your code in a GitHub repo and jump through a few hoops, but it will deploy for free, which I did. And oops, how do I go back? Oh, okay. So now anyone can see my map, and you could do the same thing. Okay, so let's make a map with PyScript. So our PyScript dashboard is going to look a little different. We still have our main title, and we have our filters on the top this time with minimum and maximum mileage and elevation gain. We also have our region drop-down menu, and the map is looking the same because it's using the same code. So let's get into how we did this. So back in PyScript.com, we created a new app. In PyScript.toml, our config file, we can add a name for our app and any packages that our app depends on. And in my case, here's where I'll say, like, I need GeoPandas in my environment, and for whatever reason in this environment, I also need these things in order to use the GeoPandas Explore method. Just had to figure that out as I went. In main.py, we'll have all the Python code. So our import statements, our loading in of the data and doing some cleanup. We'll have a make map function that uses the values that the user specifies to actually create the map. Some error handling. Again, this is all public. You can look at this later. Filter our hikes. And then use the explore method that I've pasted throughout my project, again here, to actually make that nice looking map with my configurations. And there's other code in main.py that I won't go over, but there's more. In index.html, I have to add my sliders so that they're on the page. Okay, so let's go over the demo. In PyScript.com, okay, we're filtering by mileage. We're choosing our elevation gain. Okay, that's good. Our region, we'll see what I pick. Central Washington, okay. Great, so very few hikes in this, so very few choices to pick from, which always makes it easier to choose. Okay. To deploy the web app with PyScript, it's always already deployed. Whenever you make a new project in PyScript, it's immediately deployed. You just have to click the URL because this is all running in the browser with PyScript. So 0 time to deploy your PyScript app. Okay, so we've made 2 separate apps with Streamlit and PyScript. Here they are again. Let's look at the pros and cons of each. So Streamlit, some of the main pros are you can make a really nice, stylish looking dashboard with very little code. So it has that like nice look and feel. We had that filters panel that was so nice, like nice gray, and like the colors were there. I didn't have to think about any of that. There's lots of documentation on Streamlit online, so you just install it, find the method you want, add your stuff, and it looks good by default. Some of the cons are kind of, because it's so easy to make a simple dashboard, it's also hard to make a complex dashboard because you are limited by the methods that Streamlit has. For example, I have this nice filter on the left. If I wanted it on the right, that would not be straightforward. You have to just go with what Streamlit offers. And you have to use a typical Python workflow in that you have to have Python installed locally, install your own local libraries. If you want to publish it, you have to go through some hoops. But in summary, Streamlit is very good at doing the one thing that it was designed for, which is making web dashboards with Python. So PyScript, some pros of PyScript are you don't need a local Python environment. You don't need a GitHub repo. You don't need a deployment step. Everything you're doing is done in the browser. And this is a really, like I said in the beginning, a really new feature. Being able to run Python in the browser makes it much easier to get started as a new programmer. And you don't have to make a fancy web map. You can type any Python into PyScript and it'll run. So it's a great, just reduces the hassle of getting your own Python environment installed. And it's very flexible because it's like Python is a programming language that is used for any number of things. So anything you want to do, you can do it in PyScript. Some cons. This con is specific to my use case because PyScript runs Python in the browser. And I'm asking it to also install GeoPandas in the browser and all these other big libraries. If you were to click on my PyScript app, you would notice it takes a very long time to load because it's doing all that in the background. So it's actually very fast if you're not making it install huge libraries, but it's very slow for me. And because it's running in the browser, you sometimes have to do browsery stuff. You might have to write some JavaScript to get your app how you want it, and you might have to write some Python that smells like JavaScript, be like adding a button on click. Like, I don't know, that's not stuff that we typically have to use in Python. But in summary, PyScript has a lot more use cases than Streamlit. It makes Python much more accessible, and it can be used for in any number of things. I've seen it used for interactive documentation. It can be used in education to teach Python, and lots of use cases. So here is the QR code again. I'll leave it up while I say thank you very much. In lieu of questions, I'll let the program continue, but you can find me the rest of the day and chat more about this.